The 12 tribes of Israel, heritage and biblical significance. Have you ever wondered what the 12 tribes of Israel truly signify? Far beyond being mere names mentioned in the Bible, these tribes carry fascinating stories, brimming with promises, challenges, and lessons that resonate to this day. There's an intriguing mystery here. Why did God choose these 12 lineages to shape the identity of His chosen people? And how do they continue to influence our spiritual lives and even our understanding of the plan of redemption? If you think you know the full story, perhaps it's time to reconsider. The true story of the 12 tribes of Israel goes far beyond what most imagine. They are not just historical markers, but living proof that God works through imperfect families to accomplish perfect purposes. Each tribe holds special significance, a unique role that reflects the diversity and richness of God's plan. Yet, it wasn't all harmony. Betrayals, divisions, and even idolatry marked their journeys. And what about their spiritual and prophetic implications? These tribes didn't vanish. In fact, they point to the future, revealing mysteries about redemption and unity. Fascinating, isn't it? If you've ever felt that the Bible is a book full of layers, you're absolutely right. And the 12 tribes are one of the clearest examples of this. Shall we unravel these layers together? Discover the spiritual heritage, hidden meanings, and roles these tribes play in biblical history and prophecy. And get ready for a journey that goes beyond the surface and delves into what truly matters, understanding what God can teach us through these tribes and how this knowledge can transform how we see life, faith, and the future. The origin of the tribes and Jacob's heritage. The true story of the 12 tribes of Israel finds its roots in Jacob, the patriarch who gave his name to the chosen people. Jacob, grandson of Abraham and son of Isaac, is a fascinating figure full of nuances and twists. Picture a man who, after a night of wrestling with an angel, not only received a new name, Israel, but also a new purpose. Jacob was no ordinary man. He was someone shaped by challenges. Each of his 12 sons, born of Leah, Rachel, Bilhah, and Zilpah, carried unique traits that would define the essence of the tribes. And it was no coincidence that these sons became the pillars of one of the Bible's most captivating stories. Have you ever thought about what it means to carry such a heritage in each lineage? When Jacob blessed his sons in Genesis 49, he went beyond mere paternal words. He outlined a prophetic map of sorts, defining the destinies of each tribe. Reuben, for example, was reprimanded for his instability, while Judah received a royal blessing, pointing to the line of kings that would culminate in Jesus Christ. Have you thought about the impact of that? Each blessing carried profound meaning, reflecting not just the son's character, but also God's vision for the future. If you were in the place of one of these sons, what would you have learned upon hearing these words? Perhaps the responsibility of honoring such a deep legacy is something we can apply to our families today, don't you think? When Joseph, Jacob's favorite son, had 2 sons in Egypt, Ephraim and Manasseh, their inclusion as separate tribes was a strategic move. This not only expanded the divine covenant with Abraham's descendants, but also showed how God turns unexpected circumstances into abundant blessings. Imagine being in Joseph's place, watching your sons elevated to the status of patriarchs. Jacob's action teaches us the importance of looking beyond difficulties and recognizing the potential of future generations. A good exercise would be to reflect, how are we preparing those who come after us to thrive in their journeys? And so, the story of the 12 tribes begins with a mix of blessings, challenges, and the promise of a future full of meaning. However, the tribe's destiny does not end with Jacob. He merely inaugurates a larger chapter. Have you ever thought about how each of these tribes finds its place in a promised land? And how does this reflect the choices we make daily, even in uncertain times? After all, the journey is just beginning. The territories of the tribes in the Promised Land After years of wandering in the desert, the 12 tribes finally arrived in the Promised Land under Joshua's leadership. Imagine the relief and emotion of stepping into the place promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob for generations. But this moment wasn't just one of celebration. It was also a milestone of responsibility. Each tribe received a specific territory, a portion of land that not only provided for their needs, but reflected their divine purpose. Judah, for instance, received a large southern area, a space that would later become the birthplace of kings like David and Solomon. Can you imagine the weight of carrying such a powerful legacy? While Judah occupied the south, Ephraim and Manasseh, Joseph's sons, settled in the central regions, enjoying fertile and strategic lands. Meanwhile, Naphtali, Zebulun, and Issachar settled in the north, areas known for their natural beauty and commercial potential. Each location played a unique role in strengthening the nation. But what about the tribe of Levi? Without receiving land, they were scattered among the other tribes, serving as spiritual mediators and caring for the tabernacle. This dispersion teaches us something profound. The impact of a life is not always tied to what one owns, but to the service one provides. Do we value serving as much as possessing today? Interestingly, not all tribes fully fulfilled their calling. Some, like Dan, faced challenges in establishing their borders and succumbed to idolatry. Others, like Gad and Reuben, chose to settle beyond the Jordan, seeking immediate comfort rather than a deeper commitment to God's plan. These choices make us reflect on how our decisions shape our destiny. Perhaps as we look at the 12 tribes and their territories, we can learn to embrace the opportunities and challenges God places in our lives, trusting that every part of the terrain we receive has a greater purpose. Thus the 12 tribes began to weave the story of a nation in the land God promised. But would this territorial unity be enough to maintain harmony among them? What happens when individual interests clash with a collective purpose? The answer lies in the next stage of the journey, the unity and division of the tribes. At first, the 12 tribes of Israel lived under a unique covenant, united by faith in God and the commandments delivered by Moses. Under Joshua's leadership, they conquered the Promised Land together, forming a seemingly indestructible nation. Imagine this: diverse people, each with their own characteristics and challenges, marching as one army, driven by a common purpose. But the story didn't stay this way forever. Over time, differences began to surface. The tribes' unity was tested, and internal conflicts became inevitable. Can you imagine living in a society where divisions outweigh points of connection? The most significant rupture came after Solomon's reign, when the kingdom split into two parts. The 10 northern tribes formed the Kingdom of Israel, while Judah and Benjamin remained in the southern kingdom, known as Judah. This division was not just political, it was also spiritual. The northern kingdom distanced itself from the temple in Jerusalem and adopted idolatrous practices, while Judah maintained the official worship of God. This split reminds us how collective choices can shape a nation's destiny. Moreover, it shows that divisions, often based on self-interest, frequently lead to ruin. What can we learn from this? Perhaps it's the value of prioritizing unity in our relationships and endeavors. The consequences of this separation were disastrous. The northern kingdom was invaded and destroyed by the Assyrians, and its tribes were scattered. Judah didn't escape either. Centuries later, it fell to the Babylonians, with its people taken into exile. The true story of the 12 tribes teaches us that without a common purpose, even the strongest foundations can fragment. Today, this lesson is as relevant as ever. How can we maintain unity in our families, communities, and even faith? The key might be to never lose sight of what connects us to the Creator. And so, the tribe's fate seemed uncertain. But even amid division and exile, God still had plans for His people. The next chapter of this journey reveals unique roles and unexpected paths that would shape Israel's history. The distinct roles of the tribes. Each of the 12 tribes of Israel possessed a unique and distinct role, designed by God to contribute singularly to the nation's development. Judah, for instance, was marked as the foundation of royalty, the home of the lineage that would culminate in Jesus Christ. When Jacob blessed Judah, he described him as a lion, a symbol of leadership and strength. Isn't it incredible to think that this small tribe would become the heart of an eternal kingdom? Levi, on the other hand, didn't receive land, but was chosen for priestly service. They lived scattered among the tribes, demonstrating that spirituality isn't confined to one place, but should permeate the entire community. It's a powerful lesson for those seeking to integrate faith into daily life. Other tribes also had notable characteristics. Benjamin, though small, was known for its bravery in battle, being compared to a wolf in Jacob's blessing. This tribe even hosted Jerusalem, the future spiritual center of Israel. Ephraim and Manasseh, Joseph's sons, inherited rich and strategic lands, symbolizing the abundance and prosperity God promised Abraham. Meanwhile, Zebulun and Issachar in the north were associated with commerce and wisdom, respectively. These traits show us that every talent and ability, no matter how small, plays a crucial role in God's plan. What if we all recognize the unique value of our contributions? Even tribes with challenges, like Dan and Reuben, played important roles. Dan was called to defend the nation, though it faced spiritual deviations along the way. Reuben, the firstborn, bore the weight of instability, but his story teaches the importance of overcoming failures and seeking redemption. The true story of the 12 tribes shows how each, with its strengths and weaknesses, formed an essential part of the whole. Aren't we like that in our communities? Each person has a role, a calling, contributing to something greater than themselves. And despite these differences, the tribe's destiny was far from static. Over the centuries, they faced challenges, changes, and even dispersions, always under the Creator's watchful eye. What did the future hold for these tribes? The answer points to eternity and the divine purposes yet to come. The 12 tribes in prophecy and revelation. The 12 tribes of Israel are not merely historical figures. They hold a remarkable role in biblical prophecy, pointing to the fulfillment of God's eternal plan. In Revelation 7, we see an extraordinary vision. 144,000 sealed, representing the tribes of Israel, prepared for the final redemption. This passage sparks many reflections. What does it mean to be sealed by God? It's a sign of protection, belonging, and promise. Imagine being among the chosen, marked not by personal merit, but by divine grace. It's a powerful reminder that even amidst chaos, God is in control and has a purpose for each of us. Interestingly, the list of tribes in Revelation presents peculiarities. The tribe of Dan, for example, is not mentioned, while Joseph appears in Ephraim's place. These changes have intrigued scholars and opened doors to fascinating interpretations. Some suggest Dan was excluded due to its association with idolatry, while others believe it reflects a call to restoration. This detail reminds us that the story of the 12 tribes is constantly evolving, always pointing to God's sovereignty. How can we apply this to our lives? Perhaps it's an invitation to reflect on our choices and the importance of staying faithful to God's purpose. More than a narrative, the 12 tribes represent the fullness of God's people. This idea is reinforced in passages like Isaiah 49, which speaks of Israel's restoration as a light to the nations. This shows us that God's plan was never just about one people or region, but about reaching all humanity. When we read about the tribes in Revelation, we are challenged to look beyond the past and focus on future hope. Isn't it inspiring to think that, like the tribes, we too are part of a larger story, one that transcends time and space? And with that, the tribe's story leads us to the heart of God's message, an eternal plan of redemption and restoration. But there's still more to explore. What other lessons can we learn as we dive into the richness of biblical history? The next step may surprise us. The 12 tribes of Israel, heritage and biblical significance. After exploring the fascinating story of the 12 tribes of Israel, have you realized how each detail is interwoven into a greater divine plan? These are not just ancient stories. They are living lessons about purpose, unity, and faith. What will you do with this knowledge? Will you continue to simply admire these truths, or will you decide to apply them to your life? Just as each tribe had a unique role, you too have a special calling. And perhaps it's time to reflect. How can you honor the spiritual heritage God has placed in your hands? Now it's your turn. Are you ready to act? Perhaps this means looking at life's challenges as opportunities to fulfill a greater purpose. Or maybe it's investing more time in understanding the scriptures and how they connect with your journey. The important thing is to take the next step, even if it seems small. Don't forget, God chose imperfect people to form the tribes of Israel, and He can also use your life in ways you can't even imagine. If this content brought something new or touched you in any way, share your thoughts. Leave a comment about what surprised you or sparked your curiosity. And of course, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content about the true story and deep meaning of the Bible. Together, let's dive even deeper into these divine mysteries and discover what God has in store for each of us.